Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Ohio EPA's first ever virtual compliance assistance conference. My name is Dan Sowery with the Division of Environmental and Financial Assistance here at Ohio EPA, and I'll be moderating or helping to moderate our Environmental Stewardship and Sustainability Leaders presentation this afternoon, along with Bill Narodsky from Ohio EPA's Sustainability Program. Before we get started, I'd like to go through a few items to help you participate and engage with our panelists during this afternoon's session. On this slide here, you will see a screenshot and an example of an attendee interface. You should see something that looks like this on the right-hand side of your screen. For this webinar, you are listening in using your computer audio. If you're having sound issues, try refreshing your browser. If that doesn't work, log off and log back in, or check your computer's audio settings. Please feel free to submit questions to the panelists or to our folks behind the scenes with CEU or troubleshooting technical type of issues by typing them into the questions pane on your control panel. You may send your questions at any time during the presentation, and if we don't answer your question during the Q&A portion, we will reach out to you via email following today's webinar. This webinar is being recorded, and you will receive a link to the recording and a follow-up email along with the session survey. The session survey will also appear once the webinar ends. We value your feedback and would greatly appreciate it if you let us know how we're doing and let us know if there's anything that we can do to further assist you. A certificate of attendance will also be included via email about a day or so after the session. This session has been approved for 1 hour of registered sanitarian and sanitarian in training credit. If you did not submit your RS or SIT number in the CEU ID number box, when registering, please make sure to provide us with your number through the Q&A feature. Attendees seeking American Planning Association credit may do so through APA self-reporting option. Log into your My APA account and select the self-reported credits option to receive credit. If you are seeking other CEUs, please refer to our conference agenda available as a handout to the presentation. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ohio EPA's Bill Narodsky.
Thank you, Dan. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. Today, we have a great panel from our Earth Day 2020 awards recipients. Our latest and first virtual award ceremony was last week, and you can check out a recording of that ceremony on the conference landing page. Our panelists today are Kevin Bruin from Ford Lima Engine Plant, Aparna Dayal from the Ohio State University and Wexner Medical Center, and Jennifer Schreider from Sterling Ultracold. As Dan mentioned, I am Bill Narodsky, and I am the panel facilitator today. Today, after an introduction of the E3 program, and then given our chance for our panelists to introduce themselves and their organizations, we will begin the panel discussion. We will go through as many of the panel questions as we have time for in today's session. The Encouraging Environmental Excellence, or E3 program, can recognize any business or organization in Ohio for outstanding leadership in environmental activities above and beyond what is required by the regulations. We also have an Encouraging Environmental Excellence in Education program for K-12 student-involved programs and projects. The Encouraging Environmental Excellence program has 4 levels. The achievement level that can recognize an organization that is just beginning its journey. E3 Silver recognizes organizations that have facility environmental stewardship programs. E3 Gold recognizes organizations with extensive and comprehensive environmental stewardship programs. And the Platinum level for organizations that meet the E3 Gold standard. And the director recognizes for engaging with their community and region on sustainability efforts. Our panelists today are Gold and Platinum Award winners, our highest levels of recognition of the Encouraging Environmental Excellence program. Our panelists today are Kevin Bruin, Aparna Dayal, and Jennifer Schreider. Let me go ahead and give you an introduction to them, and then I'll let them introduce their organizations. Kevin Bruin is a senior plant environmental engineer at the Ford Lima Engine Plant. He is a Lima, Ohio native, a West Point graduate, and a graduate of the University of Toledo with a degree in civil engineering. Kevin had previously worked as an engineer at Sheldon Engineering and Associates, designing bridges and water and waste treatment systems. He has worked for General Dynamics, also known as the U.S. Army Tank Plant, and in 1988 took an engineering position at Ford's Lima Engine Plant, where he led the plant to be the first successful, or the first North American Ford plant to become ISO 14001 certified, and to successfully implement a fully integrated environmental operating system. Kevin advises other powertrain plants as the lead environmental engineer for Ford North American powertrain operations. Kevin is married to his wife, Cindy, the father of 3 and grandfather of 4. He also finds time to be actively involved in the community and is a high school tennis coach. Aparna Dayal is the Senior Director for Sustainability and Strategic Services for The Ohio State University and the Wexner Medical Center. She leads sustainability initiatives, refuse and recycling services, landscaping, roads, and ground services at The Ohio State University and the Wexner Medical Center. She is responsible for strategic planning, development, coordination, and implementation of programs, standards, and policies, and advises the Ohio State University leadership on all matters pertaining to sustainable practices. Previously, she worked for the City of Columbus Smart Columbus program and led the Smart City Challenge application team that was instrumental in helping the City of Columbus win a $40 million Smart Cities Challenge grant. She has also worked for the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality and the Ohio EPA. Aparna has an undergraduate degree in civil engineering from Osmania University, India, an MS in civil and environmental engineering from Utah State University, and an MBA with a focus in finance from the Fisher College of Business at the Ohio State University. Jennifer Schreider is the marketing coordinator at Sterling Ultra Cold. She is based in Athens, Ohio, and has worked in various creative roles for 15 years. As a member of Sterling Ultra Cold's Zero Waste team, she helps to promote the principles of the Zero Waste International Alliance within the company. She is passionate about environmental and sustainable practices, energy efficiency, waste reduction, and recycling. Jennifer holds an MBA from Webster University and a BFA from Columbus College of Arts and Design. She enjoys yoga, raising chickens, traveling, and spending time with her family. Welcome to all the presenters, and thank you for joining us today.
My name is Kevin Bruin. I work for Ford Motor Company at the Lima engine plant. Our plant, if you go to the next slide then. We're one of the bigger engine plants for Ford Motor Company. We produce 2 basic lines of engines, the Cyclone engine and the EcoBoost engine. We make approximately 600,000 engines a year, which doesn't sound like a lot, but if you think about 600,000 cars driving up and down the road, that's a lot of engines. Those engines go primarily into the F-150, the Edge, and the Explorer. This looks like an older slide. I shouldn't have used this one. Also, we have our plant. We have about 2.4 million square feet, and we sit on about 280-acre piece of land. We have 2 large quarries on our site, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. And we have about 1,600 people that work at this plant. We are a synthetic minor Title V facility for air. We have a wastewater treatment plant that we treat our industrial waste here. We generate about 80 to 100,000 gallons a day that goes to the city of Lima for further treatment. And as Bill mentioned, some of our accomplishments, we were the first major North American plant to receive ISO 14001 certification back in the 90s. Something we're real proud of with the community. We just, 2 years ago, we celebrated our 30th consecutive year of celebrating Earth Day with our local park system, Johnny Appleseed Parks, and also I am a commissioner on the park system. We are a zero to waste landfill facility, meaning we don't send any of our normal waste to landfill. And geothermal, we use a geothermal process where we save a lot of water. We use the 2 quarries that are on our site to help cool water and help us cool the building and our equipment. It's a non-contact system, so there's nothing that could be a problem. And hydrocarbon, we use MQL, minimum quantity lubricant, on our crank line. That's as opposed to a normal coolant system where you flood the machining and tooling surfaces. So the MQL is a great new thing that came out that allows us to use a lot less water, hydrocarbons, and a lot less emissions. So it's another feather on our cap here for Lima. So thank you. That's, I think, pretty good description of our plant.
Thank you, Kevin. Aparna, could you please introduce the Ohio State University and the Wexner Medical Center?
Of course. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm really delighted to be here. Again, my name is Aparna Dial, and I'm with the Ohio State University and Wexner Medical Center, and want to give you a little bit of information about our institutions. So the Ohio State University is one of the largest universities in the country. We are ranked #1 in terms of academics in the state of Ohio, and we are also in the top 20 in terms of all of the public universities in the country. We are further distinguished by a top-rated academic medical center, a premier cancer hospital and research center. So the Wexner Medical Center is a real integral part of the university. We have 29,000 employees, and our annual budget is in the billions, so we are a pretty big operation. We have 7 hospitals that fall under our umbrella, and this does not include any of the family practices or the clinics that we have scattered throughout the state. Additionally, it gives me a lot of pride to say that we were ranked #1 in terms of best hospitals in the Columbus region by the U.S. World and News Report, and 9 of our specialties also made it on the list for the 2020-21 year. We have spent 28 consecutive years on the best hospital list, and 2 of our specialties were ranked as high performing. Our mission at the Wexner Medical Center is to improve lives for people in Ohio and across the globe through innovation in research, education, and patient care. Next slide. So in accordance with our mission, we are dedicated to evolving the culture of sustainability through responsible use of our human, natural, and fiscal resources and reducing our environmental impact. And this sort of ethos is not new to the university or to the medical center. We've had this sort of mindset for decades. In fact, I established the first campus sustainability office back in 2004, 2005, ahead of all of the Big Ten and the Ivy League schools. So about 2015, we adopted institutional-wide sustainability goals that range from carbon neutrality to getting energy conservation, water conservation goals, to buying environmentally preferred products, to almost, zero waste, achieving zero waste by 2025. If you're not familiar with that term, it means diverting at least 90% of the waste away from the landfill. So from a diversion rate perspective, this number that is showing on the screen, in fact, we've gone up a little bit. It's at 33%, and it may not seem like much, but it's a 40% growth over our 2017 number, which was about 23%. And 33% is pretty significant in a hospital setting. And we've done that through a variety of efforts, like increase our recycling infrastructure across all of our facilities, composting, food donation programs. Also, we have done a lot in terms of signage and education, using our digital kiosks to not only educate our own employees, but also our visitors and patients. All of our orientation sessions for employees are held at zero waste events, and sustainability is an integral part of the zero waste, of the orientation process. Additionally, we've had robust print reduction efforts. So even between 2019 and 2020, we've reduced our imprints by 10.5 million. And it's been a 21% reduction since 2014. So we've saved about $200,000 by doing that. We have a robust EPP program, which is relatively new. And in a 2-year period, we went from 2% to 75%. EPP stands for Environmentally Preferred Purchasing, if you're not familiar with that. The other thing I wanted to talk about was our partnership with Battelle helped us to sterilize and reuse 22,000 N95 masks, which ensured resiliency within our PPE supply chain and also diverted waste away from the landfill. So hospitals are huge consumers of resources. In terms of the national GDP, we are at 18%, but we are 10% in terms of greenhouse gas emissions in the United States. And 5% of the 10% comes from anesthetic gas use, believe it or not. And these gases, for example, desflurane has 2,500 times the global warming potential of CO2. So we've done a lot of educational efforts with our clinicians and our students. And in a short span of 1 year, we cut our greenhouse gas emissions that are associated with anesthetic gases by nearly 50%. From a carbon neutrality perspective, all of our hospitals, we've conducted investment grade energy audits. We've implemented a lot of energy conservation measures, and it's an ongoing process. We've done LED retrofits everywhere. And one of the points of pride for us is our OSU East Hospital with an Energy Star score of 89. And this is the 5th consecutive year with the Energy Star rating. Ohio State also has a contract with a farm in Northwest Ohio to provide wind-generated electricity. And in fiscal 20, 16% of our electricity came from renewable sources. And all of these efforts, we primarily undertake through 2 mechanisms. One, we have a Sustainability Council, which I chair, which has administrative leaders from all across the Wexner Medical Center. And they primarily push change through policy, guidance. It's more of a top-down approach. And then we have a fabulous green team, which is a grassroots bottom-up approach, where they're involved in education efforts and volunteering and so forth. And we had a 30% increase in our green team membership between 2019 and 20. And the last thing I want to really talk about is telehealth. So Ohio State's fiscal year runs from July 1 through June 30th. So between July 1 and July 1, 2019 and Feb of 2020, we had 800 telehealth encounters. But in the last quarter of the year, this went up to 190,000 encounters, just over a span of 3 to 4 months. And as you can see, patient satisfaction was really high, and it resulted in about 3,000 metric tons of CO2 emissions being avoided. So, hospitals tend to be trusted places in a community where people come to heal and get better. And as hospital leaders, we recognize that, and we strive to do the right thing every day to safeguard the health of the community, whether they're inside or outside of our facilities.
So Sterling Ultra Cold, we're a division of Global Cooling. We're located in Athens. That's our headquarters. We also have a sales office in Columbus and another office in Helmond, the Netherlands. So we are a provider and manufacturer of environmentally sustainable ultra-low temperature freezer products for the global life science research market. And we are have world-class manufacturing, quality, and service management in our organization. We have over 120 employees now, and we have created manufacturing jobs in what's called a hub zone, a historically underutilized business zone. And we received our hub zone certification from the Small Business Administration in 2017. And essentially this enables purchases of our ultra-low temperature freezers to be eligible for federal set-asides. And we are now the only laboratory-grade ultra-low temperature freezer manufacturer and supplier that is Hub Zone certified. Next slide, please. So a little bit about our environmental stewardship. So our company was founded on the realization of innovative technology that reduces the carbon footprint of research operations, such as The Ohio State and Battelle, two of our customers that have our ULT freezers. So our innovative technology is our free piston Stirling engine that is used in all of our freezer models. And you can see kind of a picture off here to the right of what that looks like. And we led the ultra low temperature freezer industry in the adoption of Energy Star standards. And we still set the benchmark for energy efficiency today, which is great. So we eliminated the HFC and the HCFC use with the first EPA SNAP approved use of hydrocarbon refrigerants in the US. So our freezers use ethane and then also helium for cooling. And then we received Zero Waste Gold certification from an organization called TRUE in 2017. And we continue to try to maintain rigorous waste diversion standards throughout the organization. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer, and thank you to all of our panelists for the introductions of your organizations. We're now going to begin our round-robin panel discussion where each of you will have an opportunity to address the question that is there. I will rotate who goes first for each slide to give everyone a chance to be in that hot seat. So our first question will start out with Aparna, is what were the driving forces for starting sustainability activities at your organization?
Oh, well, that's a great question. Ohio State University is a land-grant institution, and we have an academic medical center. So what that means is that generations of students pass through our corridors. And the future behaviors are impacted by not only the campus experience, but the actions of the university leaders. So we have the opportunity, I would say the better word would be to say responsibility, to consider what example we set from the human health and environmental performance of our campus. So our faculty, students, and staff expect us to do the right thing, and so does the broader community, and rightly so. So the primary driver for us is it's the right thing to do, the smart thing to do. And from the Wexner Medical Center perspective, I talked a little bit about how we contribute 10% of the national greenhouse gas emissions. We tend to be really high users of resources. And so our day-to-day operations have an impact on the environment. And Bill, no one can say this probably better than you or the EPA, that there's a very clear link between human health and the health of the environment, right? From the water that we drink to the air that we breathe. In fact, according to the World Health Organization, a quarter of the global deaths can be attributed to environmental factors. And in the United States, this number is about 10%. And a lot of these can lead to chronic diseases. And according to the CDC, 75% of our burgeoning healthcare costs are related to management of these chronic diseases. So again, for us, the driving factor is one, it's about the right thing to do. It is about minimizing the impact on our community. It's about minimizing impact on the environment. And it's about fiscally responsible use of all of our assets to drive efficiencies as well as, generate cost savings.
Thank you, Parna. Jennifer, same question.
Thank you. Well, I'd say we're fortunate that our entire organization was built around the idea of sustainability. So our ultra low temperature freezers are very energy efficient due to our unique free piston Stirling engine technology that I mentioned before. They're used in the life science research area. And traditional or legacy compressor-based ultra low temperature freezers typically use as much energy as a US household. And our upright freezer uses up to 75% less energy versus this standard installed base. So therefore, our products end up saving our customers money and energy, and we help them meet their sustainability goals. So really the driving force at Sterling has not been an outside force. It was the foundation of our company. So.
Great. And Kevin, for Ford Lima?
Okay, so it's really great when the guy that started our company, Henry Ford, he was a huge proponent of reusing everything he could, and that's exactly what sustainability is. And his great grandson, Bill Ford, is still on the, he's a driving force within Ford Motor Company. So he is our largest, I'm going to say, supporter in the environmental arena here and across the world. And when you have that kind of help and corporate commitment, it makes it a lot easier to have a sustainability program. And I would say, obviously, Bill Ford pushes it, and he pushes it down to his subordinates, the directors and the managers. And luckily, we have a program here at Ford where everybody pulls together, and we're driving it down to the floor, to our people on the floor. And so you got to have a commitment from the top, and obviously we do have that. The other thing I wanted to mention, we have it from the top. We have our plant manager pushes the idea of sustainability. You have to also have a very good training program, an ongoing training program, which we do. So that helps a lot. The other thing that I think helps and promotes the sustainability programs is that we have objectives every year. Every plant, every division has objectives due to hydrocarbons reducage, water reduction, waste reduction and diversion, more recycling, and energy reduction. So we're constantly looking at those numbers, looking at ways that we can do better, new opportunities, new innovations, and trying to weave those into our production programs. Without the commitment from the top of the house, that wouldn't happen. So I feel very fortunate that we have that commitment here at Ford Motor Company. Thank you.
Sounds like a great demonstration of where the top management commitment and process driven, and also just making sure that you answer your customers' needs all help drive you in getting started.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay, starting with Jennifer, what advice could you give an organization that is trying to start their own sustainability program or create a sustainability policy?
Sure. I'm going to kind of piggyback on Kevin here. So I think what is critical in creating a sustainability program or policy is that there is leadership from the highest level of the organization. So, ensuring that the CEO and leadership is fully engaged in the sustainability project and is totally supportive of it. I think some of this goes beyond just a compliance issue. I think in our organization, we think that, addressing the climate crisis is something we all have to do. And with this comes new opportunities. I also think it's important to start with realistic expectations, build confidence, train and support your staff, and then celebrate success.
Great.
Thanks.
So, Kevin?
Yeah, start small. Don't start with some grandiose idea that you're going to change the world, because you probably won't. You need to start small at your, maybe even at your department level, and then grow from there and try to figure out what works, and then expand that out into maybe a whole line, and then maybe even the plant, and then across a division. So start small. That's what I would suggest. It's generally things don't work well when they, certainly you want the commitment from the top, but when the top managers say, we're going to do it this way, it generally doesn't work. So you need to start down at the bottom and figure out how you're going to do something and move it on out to the larger areas of the line or the plant. So that's how we do it here.
Great. And Aparna, what do you recommend from the point of view from Ohio State and the Wexner Medical Center?
So I kind of echo both what Jennifer and Kevin are saying, but the one thing I would like to add is that, don't reinvent the wheel. There's a lot of learning out there. Reach out to your peer organizations and reach out to people that are doing similar kind of work or work that you want to emulate, because people who are engaged in the sustainability business, typically it's not enough if they win, they want everyone to win. So they're very open about sharing, at least from an educational sector. Our books are open. We'll share our best practices. So I would say, don't reinvent the wheel, look for resources, reach out to, I think it's very important to get leadership buy-in. And sometimes we may not all be fortunate to have that, like we may at Ford or Sterling or Ohio State. So I would say find out what's important to your leaders. What is important to your organization? And then try to draw a straight line between your programming and the institutional priorities and goals. So try to link this to your strategic planning for the organization. And the other advice I will give you is, don't make it seem like this is some kind of add-on. Sustainability has to be seamlessly integrated into your day-to-day activities. And again, if you have the option, like Kevin said, either start small or pick things that are under your control. So because I'm within facilities and all of the recycling stuff is under my control, you pick something that's under your control so you can deliver some wins early on that you can build on and publicize.
Well, I do certainly appreciate all of your willingness to share your information and help pass the message down. Starting with Kevin now, what was the biggest obstacle that you had to overcome in completing sustainability activities at your organization?
Well, that's a good question, because in the beginning, I think everybody thinks, well, this is going to cost more money, therefore we're not terribly interested in getting involved and doing it. But if you look at the sustainability from a life cycle perspective, you really are reducing costs if you do a good job with it. And actually, sustainability activities will reduce your ongoing and long-term costs if you look at it. So, you might spend some money up front, but if you look at 5 years, 10 years down the road, you're saving money. So that's, again, getting back to, you got to have some support with your higher leadership, and you have to have a good training program. And as one of the other folks on the board mentioned, you got to have some successes right at the beginning, and then that gets people's attention. You show that you can save some money, and I think that helps a lot. Everything comes back down to money, and if you can show that you're saving some money, it's a huge win for you. And again, that's why we are constantly looking at our measurables. Each one of our measurables, assuming we meet our measurables, and we're doing a very good job of that, we are reducing costs for Ford Motor Company. So, that gets embraced a lot better when those kinds of things happen.
Excellent. So, and that'd be Aparna. How about you for addressing obstacles?
Sure. And I hope, like I mentioned earlier, we started the University Sustainability Office a decade and a half ago. And one of the biggest obstacles at the time what I hope people are not facing that today, was people did not even know the term sustainability, let alone what it meant. So there was a lot of education going on and buy-in and making sort of that business case. The other big thing that happens a lot, to Kevin's point, is that people use the word green and sustainable interchangeably all the time. And that's a misconception, because sustainability is not just about the environment, it's about societal needs and economic prosperity. So if you could think about a Venn diagram with three intersecting circles between the environment, society, and prosperity, that middle section where they intersect. So sustainability by itself means that there has to be some sort of life cycle savings. So how many of you, I guess I can't hear your response, know that Dow Jones defines sustainability as a business approach that creates shareholder value? Okay. And then they created the Dow Jones Sustainability Index in '99 for global companies, and that for the US and North American markets in 2004 and 5. So the top 10% of the largest global companies in the world are on this index. And if you guys believe they're doing it for altruistic reasons, you are mistaken, because it's also good for their bottom line. And even 93% of the S&P 500 companies submit corporate social responsibility or sustainability reports. At the same time, in the 90s, there was a professor called Robert Eccles from Harvard. He did a longitudinal study over an 18-year period of time. He invested $1 in a set of 180 companies that he called low sustainability, and he invested $1 in these what he called high sustainability companies, which are almost identical in every way. And over an 18-year period of time, the dollar grew from $1 to $15 for the low sustainability companies, and grew from $1 investment into over a $22 investment in the high sustainability companies. So it's interesting that businesses have to prioritize more than profit to be profit. So if you're looking to make a business case for sustainability, which may be one of your biggest obstacles, you don't have to look any farther than the Dow Jones and all of these corporations that are listed on the sustainability indices. Jennifer?
That was great. Thank you. In our organization, I think one of the biggest obstacles has been getting people's behaviors to change. So, it's easy to explain what needs to be done, but sometimes explaining what needs to be done and getting them to actually change their behaviors are two entirely different things. So even though sustainability is foundational to the products we produce, we still, in terms of our zero waste program, we still have to put a lot of effort into communications and changing behaviors, and it's an ongoing effort. And in addition to changing habits, we've had to adjust to the changes in acceptable recyclable materials. That has been it's been a challenge. I think a lot of people who have programs already in place will know, in the past year, starting in 2019, there was kind of an international ban on certain plastics. And so we've had to go back and work with our suppliers on, hey, can we change to something that is acceptable, in the US, or that can be recycled internationally. But, adjusting to a change like that can be slow and challenging. So thank you.
The National Defense Policy did and may affect a lot of businesses, as you pointed out, and it's good to see that culture is a very important part for addressing and how to move forward.
Yeah.
So in this spirit of addressing the right group here, Aparna, as the representative medical facility, you can start this question on how has coronavirus impacted your sustainability activities, and what recommendations do you have for others maintaining programs at this time?
Oh, Bill, this is another very thoughtful and timely question. Let me think about it. I think first and foremost, I do want to say that the COVID-19 pandemic is a humanitarian crisis. So efforts to contain the virus and support those that are directly impacted by the virus are of the utmost importance. So for Ohio State, for us, it's all about ensuring the health and safety of our community, and our own efforts to flatten the curve. I just want to put that out there, right? Flatten the curve of the virus. But if you look at this global pandemic, there are two things that I see. I'm drawing parallels between this pandemic and sustainability problems like climate change. They're both global in nature. So these sorts of global problems require global partnerships, like the one I talked about with Battelle, where we were able to repurpose, sterilize, and reuse these 22,000 masks. The other thing I would like to point out that this pandemic has shown us all that we can get by with less. And it's been a real vivid demonstration of a low carbon lifestyle within a globally interconnected economy. So what do I mean by that? I think you can see how we're all effectively working from home. Telehealth that I talked about has been a great example, which is a silver lining, right? So when we recover, we need to continue to find these win-win scenarios where we have lifestyles that have low ecological impacts, but maybe it's greater safeguards for health, like, for instance, public use of public transportation. How do we go back to that while taking greater hygiene care? So the one biggest takeaway I would say is look for silver linings with this pandemic, and then measure those, and then publicize the heck out of it within your organization. So for instance, I talked a little bit about telehealth, but what has happened at Ohio State is with our telecommute, we've had 25 million less miles traveled by our employees. And that's like taking 2,000 cars off the road annually. We've done setbacks in our buildings because of low occupancy or no occupancy and saved over $2 million. And I can't think about the number off the top of my head. We have saved millions and millions of gallons of water and hit our goal for this year. We've reduced our air miles by 30 million air miles traveled, and our carbon footprint is down by 10%. And this is like significant wins. And even something like office supplies, the first 3 quarters of our fiscal year, our spend was 1.7 million. And in the last quarter, it was 120,000. And so what we are trying to do right now is measure and document. And because there are some benefits that have come out of this, we're sort of taking this roadshow to our leaders, to our HR analysts, to see if we can retain some of these wins when things get back to normal. So again, I would say, look for the silver linings, look for those wins, quantify them, and publicize them. That's my advice.
So some opportunities have been created by this dire situation. So going to Jennifer, for a smaller manufacturer, how has coronavirus impacted your activities?
Yes, so COVID-19 has definitely made it more challenging to obviously hold group meetings and keep our regular zero waste auditing programs going. So what we did early on was we focused on smaller groups, one-on-one activities, with still trying to maintain social distancing, mask wearing, and just kind of re-emphasizing our basic zero waste policy, so people don't lose sight of that. And, as a medical device equipment supplier, our facility has been considered essential since the beginning of the virus, so we our leadership and our CEO had to prepare early on and kind of be creative in how to keep operating and keep our employees safe. So, kind of reorganizing your workstations, especially on our production floor, kind of redoing the break schedule. And just kind of redoing our auditing programs. But we're still doing them.
So Kevin, same question. Now, you're a large manufacturer, and those break room schedules have to be even more of a challenge, I imagine. So how has Ford Lima been impacted?
Yeah, so we were down pretty much for pretty close to 2 months, which has made a big difference in, at the beginning of the year, we had objectives in our measurables, our environmental measurables, And obviously being down for 2 months, that kind of threw a monkey wrench into all that. So one of the things that, what recommendations would I have for others? I would say go back and revisit your goals and objectives for this year and look at them closely and decide what you could do to make them. You need to have a goal and objective that pushes you, but you also need to make it achievable. Because if it's not achievable, everybody just kind of throws their hands up and doesn't do anything. So you got to look at your targets and objectives, and that's what we've done, is looked at our targets and objectives, reevaluated what is I'm going to call it a stretch goal. So you really got to work at it, but if you do a good job, you can make it. So we did reduce some of our goals and objectives because we were off for 2 months, and most of the people, there was almost nobody here during those months. So some of those things had to be reevaluated. For example, though, our water usage, that went down. That's a good thing. Our energy usage went down. So some of those things did go down, but again, my recommendation to others would be you got to have sustainability activities that are attainable. Yet at the same time, you gotta make people reach for them a bit. So that's what coronavirus has really, I guess, taught us, is that we at times you may need to go back and revisit what your goals and objectives were.
Thank you. So all three of your organizations are E3 Gold or higher winners, which means our review teams were really impressed at the levels and successes that you've had. So now, what tools or resources have been helpful to improve the efficiency of operations and to reduce the generation of waste at your facilities? Some opportunities to show what really helped you shine here. And let's start with Jennifer.
Okay. On a large scale, so we utilize an online resource called Retract Connect, and this helps us manage and measure our waste and recycling program data. It's really great. It can produce graphs so we can spot trends. It also has useful analytics such as greenhouse gas equivalencies. Also just our leadership, kind of providing this as a top-down priority, and applying appropriate resources. People and tools was essential. On a more micro level, what I talked about earlier, our auditing. So we have internal auditing on a weekly basis. They're called cell audits on our production floor, where we go through different bins, the waste bin, the recycling bin. We also have a scrap metal bin because we turn our scrap metal in. And we also do our monthly zero waste meetings. And at that time, we also audit the rest of the office, because besides our manufacturing facility, we have our front office up here, like where I am working. We work really closely too with the Athens Hocking Recycling Center. And it's convenient because they're located just right down the road behind our building. But they take our compost, and we worked with them to get our paper towels as compost. We also worked with our purchasing department, who is working with our suppliers to kind of reuse packaging or create more returnable, reusable packaging. We offer our pallets for free to the Athens community. Those usually get posted on Facebook. We've done small things too, like changing the office lighting to LEDs. We make regular furniture and office supply donations to the Athens Habitat for Humanity. We purchased wind and energy credits for all electricity use. And then just in how we produce our products to reduce the generation of waste, we refurbish engines. And we also refurbished freezers too, and we call those B stocks, and we sell them to some customers, as a second rate used freezer. So then we're not wasting, an entire cabinet and all the components. Yeah.
Great. Some great successes there. And let's go ahead and Kevin, What are some of your successes or resources that have been helpful?
Well, again, tools and resources that have been helpful to improve the efficiency of our operations. I think probably the biggest thing is our EOS, our environmental operating system, where we've combined our regulatory requirements and our sustainability requirements and put those into what we call our EOS, our environmental operating system. And then what that does is every month we have lists of things that we need to go through, not only regulatorily, but to sustain, our sustainability efforts. So that, again, our EOS program that's been put together, and a large part that was done from the top down, from our environmental quality group up north, down to the divisions and down to the plants. And that really does drive a lot of these things, sustainability and our compliance efforts. And again, as I've mentioned a number of times, our goals and objectives have real numbers and real dollars next to them. So we are striving to meet those goals and objectives. And every month we have a meeting with our director. Our manufacturing director is in charge of, I think, 8 plants. So 8 plants kind of like ours, that, we generate a lot of waste, and there's a lot of sustainability opportunities out there. And we talk about what we can do. And again, anything new that's coming down the pike. So again, having upper management involved and helping us drive this green idea throughout the entire workforce is what's helping us. And our EOS, our environmental operating system, really is the core piece to that whole mechanism. So yeah, it's taken a number of years to pull it all together, but it's one of those things. It's never finished. You're always working on it, but it's getting better and better every year.
Demonstrating the value of a continuous improvement program there. And
Yes.
Aparna, what resources and tools have been helpful for the Ohio State and the Wexner Medical Center?
So, we use a lot of numerous tools potentially that are specific to Ohio State, but I want to highlight one thing that we have that it's our scorecard for sustainability. So everything boils down to measurement, like Kevin and Jennifer had said earlier. And this scorecard goes up to our board of trustees. So it goes up to the highest levels of governance within the institution and helps us keep accountable and transparent to our community. The other thing I wanted to say, which might be of more relevance to this audience, would be tools that are available for you within your community. So I promise you, Bill did not pay me to say this. The OCAP office is wonderful. They have a lot of free resources. They will come to your institution, so please take advantage of that. Another local organization that has been tremendous for those in the healthcare sector is Ohio Hospital Association. If, again, you're in the health business, then Practice Green Health is a nonprofit organization that has a number of tools and resources. So at the medical center we belong to, we work through a group purchasing organization, which is Vizient, and they aggregate, the buying power across a tremendous amount of large health systems across the country. So they have a lot of industry level knowledge and resources. So to the extent that you can capitalize, like I mentioned before, on tools and resources that are available outside, again, Office of Compliance Assistance, Pollution Prevention Program, OHA, Practice Green Health. And the one thing, it would be remiss of me, because I belong to an educational institution, work there. Sustainability is a very complex problem with that affects a lot of disciplines beyond engineering and like Jennifer was talking about, culture change, behavioral issues. So we have this expertise at the university. So we're lucky to have a multitude of faculty, staff, and students that are working, to understand the mechanisms of climate change or accelerate progress towards a green and cleaner energy, or look at what incentives or policies can lead to a decarbonized global economy. They're really imagining the future of buildings and transportation systems and communities, that where sustainability moves from this idea to pervasive practice. Universities really, I truly believe, are one of the most powerful and creative forces for helping drive this change forward, Bill.
Thank you. It is 3 minutes till, so I'm going to go ahead, and unfortunately we did not have enough time to answer all of the questions that we had hoped to. So I think it is time for us to wrap up here. And as you can see, there are several questions. So if you have questions for our panelists and you want to send them to our attendees, please go ahead and use that question panel and send them in. And we will go ahead and we will get the questions together and wrap them up, and then we will share them with our panelists to go ahead so that they can answer your questions directly. Usually in the live webinars and conferences, there's always a great time for networking afterwards, and that's one of the sad part about coronavirus is we don't have the opportunity to meet in person and take time to share those personal information. But there was so much great information here today, and the value of networking, the value of getting top management support, a lot of great information there. So we do have like 2 minutes. Can we go one more time round robin, just say final thoughts, one sentence to go, and then I'll go to the next slide while you're doing so. So with Kevin, what are your final thoughts, a sentence about sustainability?
This coronavirus, my issue with the coronavirus, I'm going to talk about that real quick. I think that it's really important to get to know your counterparts in your company and the people in your neighborhood and your city, so you can call them and talk to them and get to know them and feel comfortable talking to them, so that you can the word is escaping me, but network with them to see what they're doing. You may have a problem and you're attacking it from one direction, and talking to some of your counterparts in even other businesses. So get involved in things in your community so you get to know your counterparts, and it's great to be able to talk to them, and maybe they have a great idea for you that you could use at your plant or your institution. So that's my parting shot, is get to know your counterparts in your locale, and I think it'll pay dividends for you and your company.
Aparna, final thoughts?
I said optimism. Like I said, keep up the good work. Look at the silver linings. You guys are all doing great. I hope all of you continue to stay healthy, and you and your loved ones, and continue to do well. So I wish all of you the very best of luck.
And Jennifer, final thoughts?
Sure, yeah, for anyone, kind of out there trying to grow or expand their sustainability programs, I just think, take it one step at a time. Obviously don't forget to look at the big picture and overall impact, but, like we mentioned before, habits don't change overnight. They take time and continuous reinforcement. I feel like we try to make it as fun and as easy as possible for our employees, to adopt new sustainability measures. So.
Thank you. I want to thank all of you for joining us. Kevin, Aparna, and Jennifer for joining us and providing some great information today as our panelists. And thank you to all the attendees who joined in and listened in. So with that, again, please, if you have questions, please go ahead and send them in, either about the E3 program. If you send the questions in, we'll have our staff answer them. Or if you want to talk to anyone with Kevin, Aparna, and Jennifer, please send that information in. I'm now going to hand over the presentation to Dan, who is going to help us wrap up. Thank you.
So another round of thank yous. Thank you, Bill, for moderating today's session. Thank you, panelists Kevin, Aparna, and Jennifer, for your time and for sharing your perspectives, your suggestions, and successes. And thank you, everyone, for attending this afternoon's webinar. Once you leave today's webinar, you will receive a survey. We value your feedback, and we greatly appreciate it if you let us know how we're doing, and let us know if there's anything that we can do to further assist you. A certificate of attendance and a recording of this event will be included via email about a day or so after this session. If any of you deal with stormwater regulations, I highly encourage you to check out our session at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, where we will go over the elements of the Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan and how to avoid mistakes. And then to close out our virtual compliance assistance conference tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m., we're excited to have US EPA Region 5 representatives presenting on spill prevention, control, and countermeasures, or SPCC requirements. So if you have not already registered for these sessions, check out the conference agenda attached as a handout to today's presentation. And with that, thank you for joining us and have a great day.